And we'll move down the agenda here. Item 2 is approval of agenda. 2.1, changes to agenda and approval of agenda. And we do have one added item, which will be under Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations, and this is forgiveness of workday of employees due to inclement weather, April 5th, 2022, presented by Dr. Lee Hale, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. And then we'll move down to Section 3, recognitions, and 3.1, recognition of Ruckle Middle School Cheerleaders 2022 UCA National Champions, Junior High Game Day Division, presented by Mr. Chambers. And it's interesting, last week we had all the Niceville cheerleaders, and we can see a good feeder program coming out of Ruckle here, so really, really good to see this. Item 4 is visitors. 4.1, Youth Leadership Council, implementation of peer-to-peer suicide prevention and financial literacy in the schools. And then today for workshop only, 4.2, workshop only, Elaine Lajeunesse. I got it right, didn't I? Lajeunesse. And we practiced that right before this, and I messed it up.
You got it.
Mrs. L. Team Eglin Liaison Manager, recognition of the month of the military child. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Ms. Ivanchek, for the invitation to come out and to speak to the board. I really appreciate it. Mr. Bryant, you can call me Mrs. L, Ms. L, that's fine. I am Elaine Lajeunesse, for those of you that don't know who I am. I am Team Eglin School Liaison Officer, and I represent General Kane in all matters of military student education for our total force members, meaning Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, Reservists, and our Space Force. So I would like to introduce our new 96 MSG Mission Support Group Deputy Director, Mr. Gabe Laramie, and he's here in the audience. He supports all military-connected students, as well as our colonel, that is our military SLO, and our lieutenant colonel as well. So he's new, he's coming in from Colorado, so he has some great skill sets. So we're gonna rock and roll here in Okaloosa County School District. So what I'd like to do is I would like to highlight April's Month of the Military Child, and I'd like to give each one of you a little gift, and also a purple up button from Team Eglin.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then if you want to grab one of those.
While you're passing those out, I believe Mr. Chambers and the 4 board members here today are all military, quote, brats, aren't we?
Well, that's right. Am I
Yeah,
following
I
you?
think we all have a relationship to the military.
Yeah. My dad was Army for 23
So-
years.
And thank you for your service and your family service. So today, we really want to talk about April being the month of the military child and discuss, we're honoring the sacrifices that our military-connected students have undergone living the military life. They have been, the sacrifices basically are they're dedicated, committed, they're courageous, and super resilient living the military life. As you know, for a military family that retires at 20 years, they are PCSing at least 12 to 13 times. Overseas, stateside, district to district, and school to school. They're leaving their family, they're leaving their friends, they're leaving their teachers, counselors, and pretty much everything that they knew from their home to different states to go to different cultures and different schools. So it is a challenge for our military students, although they are super resilient and super courageous, and they're willing to make that sacrifice along with their parents. I do know that if you open up your booklet, I'm going to show you guys one of our marketing flyers. The majority of our Total Force students have encountered deployment, and that's deployment will look like It could be 6 months to 8 months. And I put inside your folder a magazine called the Enjoy Magazine. And if you go to page 25, you will see that marketing flyer. And I apologize. And here it is.
Okay, gotcha.
So the egglandlife.com is our FSS marketing, where we provide information for our families so that they can get information on the Military Interstate Compact, a transition checklist you'll see in the little article. But our military students have experienced deployment at some time in their parents' career. And we're talking about pre-deployment, prior to a deployment, how to prepare with goal setting, what the deployment might look like during the deployment, and then reintegration coming back. Because what happens is the parent, the mom or the father, stays back, and they are a single parent at that time during the deployment, and that student needs to make those adjustments within the home, within the school, within the classroom, and so forth. So the Month of the Military Child was first established in 1986 by Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger. And the purple is significant for all branches of service. So we have all of our service members that are impacted and their students. So this right here is something that Team Eglin has collaborated with Okaloosa County School District and another one of our school districts to really bring a highlight and recognition to the students. But I will tell you that I work with pretty much all of the schools within Okaloosa County, which there are 45, and also our private schools. There are some great things that our schools are doing. I want to tell you all the way from Walker, Riverside, Antioch, we have Florosa, we have Blue Water. I will tell you, Blue Water Elementary, I was just there, and Mrs. Clue and her staff have led, and they have about 18, I counted, honor boards that are all purpled up. They had their language teacher. Those students wrote articles, and many of the students wrote art. Did pictures, and then they were voted on, and there will be a class that will win a free shirt with the art that won that award. Eglin Elementary, we're doing a care strike. They have a spirit week. We have our chiefs that are going out to highlight patriotism and giving high fives to the students as they walk in. Okaloosa STEM, you've got your counselor and your principal that are doing some great things there with patriotism and talking about what the American flag means. Red, honor, valor; white and blue, integrity, commitment. So, and they're highlighting that every week. So a lot of our schools are doing some wonderful things. So if you have the opportunity to go in during this month, it would be great. I want to say Mr. Ruckel and his counselors, they've always had a very large student-to-student peer program, and they are highlighting, and they're actually giving back to the military family because they did a fundraiser in their student-to-student program, and then we're going to go and do a photo op out there for this month. So a lot of things going on in your schools, so I hope that you have the opportunity to go out and see how they are supporting Team Eglin and all of our installations in the area. I do want to share one thing with you is this is the Fisher House 2022 Purple Up Edition. What this highlights is our panhandle districts, our panhandle installations, all the way from Bay County to Escambia County. And we just added 3 additional things: our 20th Space Command, our Spectrum Warfare Wing, and our Intrepid Center in here. So as they go through, this will educate our students and also our principals on our military lifestyle, the footprint, talk about military life, history, literacy, and art.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, Mary.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but about how many students do we have whose parents are active duty?
Well, on Team Eglin, we have over 20,000. That's our footprint. We have approximately 3,800 military-connected students within Okaloosa County School District,
Okay.
and the number continues to rise. As Team Eglin increases in our footprint, and bringing in, the Spectrum Warfare Wing. So Mr. Horton and I, we work collaboratively all the time and looking at those numbers to meet the needs of school capacity.
Yeah. And through the pandemic, already, we're very concerned about mental health of our students. How are you addressing that with your Team Eglin on how students have weathered, so to speak, the pandemic along with the other things they have to deal with? Was there as much movement during pandemic as typically you would have?
I will tell you, I think we are in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest school board meeting when everyone decided whether to go virtual
I was here.
or brick and mortar. Allowing the parents to make the decision for their students was the best thing for every parent and every student, because every parent knows what's best for their child, whether they're being, virtually or going to brick and mortar. So I will tell you, working with Mrs. Terry Schroeder, working with Mr. Horton, we had a great team going on, and then Mr. Chambers. We had a lot of great communication to make sure that those social, emotional, and mental health needs were taken care of. You have a great footprint of guidance counselors, mental health counselors, and then I oversee 22 child and youth military family life counselors that have been added to support our military-connected students. So it's been very, very successful. Did I answer your question?
Yes, that's great. I
Okay.
mean, as I shared with her we've had a couple conversations leading up to this month, that my last 2 years as a classroom teacher prior to retiring, I taught in a program that Ms. Lightbourne knows about. JFG. It was a state grant program where all the students were military. And I really enjoyed working with that program and with those students, and really got to see what they faced differently than other students. So it was kind of at my heart. But I appreciate you taking the time, along with Mr. Laramie, to come out this morning, because our military students are very important to us here in Okaloosa County, and it's great to see all those activities. I didn't realize so many would be involved. I know Eglin, maybe at Flarosa sitting out there by Hurlburt, but it looks
Yes.
like everybody's taking part, and that's great to hear. So anyway, you got anything anybody else want to ask?
Well, go down.
I just would like to say thank you for everything that you are doing to help our military children. Very, very grateful for that. I know how hard and how difficult it must be for many of them. So thank you both very much.
Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come out and to talk a little bit about the military life and the sacrifices that our military-connected students undergo every day and each day. So they are committed. Those military members raise their hand to defend our country, and it is an honor. So thank you again.
So don't run off. We got Dr. Kelly here.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know you've been with us a long time, and you certainly have proven to have a valuable partnership with our schools and with particularly our military students, but you also impact everyone at a school, because it impacts the culture and the climate of the students there and the families there. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
And I'll just say, as a dependent of a Army veteran, I spent a lot of time in DOD schools, but also in regular traditional public schools. And I will tell you that in my time of starting school is right when Vietnam was winding down. So the military, it was a lot different back in those days. It was not looked upon like it is today with the support that we get from outside of the bases. But I will tell you that you talk about resilient. Military children have to be the most resilient kids out there, and I can tell you that as a military child, it was always on the social aspect of things. And those of you that lived on a military base can justify this, but when you saw that moving van come in, the first thing you did, all the kids went to go see if there was other kids there. And on the social aspect, I know that made me a better person, because we did have to adjust and make friends, and you go to a different base and all. But to have your support and have Team Eglin behind and in our schools and helping us, I mean, today's military kids are a lot different than when we were growing up, and they're faced with a lot more different challenges than we did. But because of the programs that we have in place that y'all are helping out with, all the military counselors that we have in all of our schools, you know, it does make a difference. So as a former military child, I know I appreciate what's going on and see what's going on in our school district because of the work that y'all are putting in there. So.
Thank you very much. I will share that my MSG colonel that wasn't able to make it, and over the years, my light colonel and Mr. Laramie and our general, we really leaned forward to build this wonderful partnership with Mr. Chambers, all of his senior leaders. So we thank you guys for all that you do to support us, and all of the principals, teachers, and counselors. We definitely couldn't do this alone. So thank you so much.
All right.
I appreciate
And I believe
it.
Mr. Chambers would like to say something.
So before you walk off, and I appreciate the word partnership that you utilized and that Dr. Kelly utilized, and the words of the board. But I too want to thank you, Ms. Lajeunesse. It's, you know, you go back a couple years ago, Ms. Lajeunesse, Mr. Hort, myself, we said, you know, we want to have excellent communication with Eglin. And Ms. Elaine Lajeunesse helped us get quarterly meetings with General Kane, who's been a great supporter of the school district. But more importantly, we wanted to be sure that we were a great supporter of Team Eglin. And those meetings have helped with communication. It's helped the end result being the students. So just again, want to thank you for that. Ms. Elaine Lajeunesse, in essence, could be a full-time employee of the school district as well.
Yeah.
Because each day she's talking with principals, talking with schools, all for the benefit of the military students. And definitely appreciate you for that. Ms. Laramie, glad to see you. Glad that you're on board, and I know that you're going to do some great things also here in the school district, so just appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move down the agenda to Section 5, and we have no administrative personnel appointments on Monday night. Item 6 is public comment, and this will be 6.1, the 4-minute version of members of the public desiring to address the school board, Forum MIS 5241, public input and/or discussion of agenda items. 7 is committee and staff reports. Typically that says workshop only, but we do have an item that's going to be on Monday night for this particular category. So 7.1 is in-county travel paid for the period of March 10th through the 23rd, 2022. 7.2, out-of-county travel paid for the period of March 10th through the 23rd, 2022. And then 7.3 will be on Monday night, quarterly progress report of the Sales Tax Citizens Oversight Committee presented by Jason Belcher, the committee chairman. And then we'll move down to item 8, consent agenda. And of course, board members, stop me at any time on any item that you would like to discuss or talk about, anything. 8.1, approval of the consent agenda. 8.2, approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearings of March 28, 2022, minutes of the regular meeting of March 28, 2022. 8.3, appropriation of District 2 School Board member capital outlay funds to Mary Esther Elementary School for classroom flooring in the amount of $20,000, presented by Ms. Marty Gardner. 8.4, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Florosa Elementary School for the classroom flooring in the amount of $20,000, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek. And 8.5, appropriation of District 5 School Board member capital outlay funds to Eglin Elementary School for office furniture in the amount of $6,909.94, presented by Dr. Diane Kelly. And then 8.6, invoices to be approved for payment, presented by Julie Perry, our interim chief financial officer, budgeting and director. And 8.7, school donations. 8.8, proposed school operational support staffing grid and school supplement grid discretionary budget for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. 8.9, ITB 22-14 band instruments district-wide. And 8.10, renewal with price increase for ITB 19-05 chemicals for cooling towers. 8.11, renewal of RFQU 17-01, construction cost engineering consulting services. 8.12, tag-on bid purchase over $25,000 WTI. 8.13, tag-on bid purchase over $25,000 North Star Contracting Group Incorporated. 8.14, sale and disposal of surplus property. 8.15, amendment to the cooperative agreement with the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and the Department of Juvenile Justice. 8.16, summer school programs for 2022, summer intensive studies, ESY extended school year, summer scholars, and junior lifeguard program for credit.
I have a question about summer school.
Okay.
So we know that it's been challenging, right, Ms. Lightbourne, the last couple of years. So I'm looking at this, essentially, it's pretty much the same as we've been doing, right? With the,
It's open to students who are struggling. In the past, we've done it for students, only retained
Yeah,
students.
failures.
So we do have students who are retained as well as struggling students, but who didn't meet retention criteria.
so with struggling is, I'm assuming the school will be sending out, I mean, we assume a parent would know,
Invitations.
but sometimes you might,
Yes.
need to make that more definite on which students would need to come in and do that.
Correct. The school would be sending invitations to students who they think summer school would benefit those students. Now it'll be up to the parent whether or not they choose to take advantage of that opportunity. And that's elementary. Secondary
yeah.
is all credit recovery.
Credit card, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, okay. Well, we know that we need this, so I'm hoping that parents will see this and take advantage of getting their students. It's not a punishment, and it's certainly not an embarrassment. I mean, if, with everything that's gone on, I think it's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I would see that if it were my child as an opportunity to get in there and actually probably work more one-on-one with the teacher because of the ratio to really get those skills up before the fall and not lose that summer gap time or slide, whatever we
Correct.
call that. And so I'm glad to see that we're investing in this program.
And I very much appreciate your question, Ms. Van Check and Ms. Lightbourne, what you're doing, because I think we all know, and I'm pretty sure the public knows, that when we talk with our teachers and our principals regarding the kinds of things that have happened with COVID in our schools and the impact that that's made on learning, that this is a wonderful opportunity, especially now, especially with everything that they've all had to deal with.
Absolutely.
And so I'm grateful for the question, and I appreciate your work in this.
No problem.
And this comes under our ESSER funds, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
Yep, great. So we have funding and it's all good.
Correct.
So-
And we're doing a 1-to-12 ratio to try and keep the ratio between teacher and student small.
That's your elementary, because
Mhm.
everything's good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's really going to be such an awesome thing for the kids, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Lightbourne. Thank you, Ms. Van Check, for the
Certainly.
question. So now we'll go to Section 9, Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations, and item 1 is information only, employees on administrative leave. 9.2, Department Staffing Restructure Facilities Planning. 9.3, forgiveness of workday for employees due to inclement weather, March 18th, 2022. 9.4, employment separations. 9.5, personnel recommendations. 9.6, employee transfers. 9.7, employee suspension. 9.8, reinstatement, reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination. 9.9, leave without pay. 9.10, forgiveness of workday for employees due to inclement weather, April 5th, 2022.
Do we have any indication that that will be forgiven, or are we just on standby until we hear back?
Yes, ma'am. So we are on standby. We've put in the request of the Department of Education, hopeful that we'll get the forgiveness, but we will be eagerly awaiting their decision.
Right.
Gotcha, thank
Right.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
And may I just
Yes, sir,
say,
of course.
I think there may be other school districts that will
No
make the
doubt.
same
No
request
doubt.
because they too didn't have school that day.
Right.
Now, the
Absolutely.
18th, it's already been cleared, correct? It's just that
Right.
April 5th. March
So the-
18th.
The first day, we still had within our minutes.
Gotcha.
So we were
Okay.
fine. And so we always want to make sure that we have the appropriate number of minutes. So Mr. Horton, Ms. Meserve and staff, they monitor that closely.
Right.
So this one, I think it was necessary to make that request.
And it was necessary to get it on this board meeting to get it filed before there was a time frame. Is that correct, Dr. Hale, is what you were telling me?
There was a payroll deadline.
Yes, yeah. So that's why we added it at a late notice
Sure.
there, so.
Yeah.
All right, so item 10 is discussion agenda. 10.1, items moved from the consent agenda, and at this time, we do not. And item 11 is construction program owners, representatives, business. And Dr. Kelly, I will turn it over to you, ma'am.
Okay, and we will have our monthly April meeting early on Monday morning, so that Monday night at our board meeting, I will be able to give you a pretty thorough
Okay.
update. I'm sure it will be exciting as always.
I was at Northwood before I came here this morning, and it's just really neat to see the transformation of that front office. And our staff was actually there removing the air conditioning units, so they're going to be moving it to a different area. But to see all the progress at all of the schools that are under construction right now,
Exciting
it's
things.
really exciting. So, item 12, information technology seat management contract. We have no items. And item 13, attorney's business. So, Mr. Ankers, I know you're filling in for Mr. McInnes today, who's being father of the bride this weekend. Any report, sir?
Well, no report. He will be back on Monday.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just add, is a lifetime resident of Okaloosa County, now some 82 years. I have always had great pride in the Okaloosa County public school system, and I never leave whether it be a workshop or a board meeting that I have an opportunity to attend, without a greater appreciation of that. And as a citizen, not as an attorney, I just want to say thank you to all of you that make that happen.
Well, thank you.
Thank
And we
you.
appreciate
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
Mr.
We
Ankers.
Appreciate your being here today.
Yes, we do. All right, so now we'll move down to section 14, superintendent's business, and Mr. Chambers, 14.1 is out-of-state student trip request, and then your time right now, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. And I do want to thank you, Mr. Ankers, for being here today, stepping in. We appreciate that. Do want to go back to the month of the military child. Again, just want to thank Ms. Lajeunesse and Mr. Laramie for being here. I do want to say that approximately 20% of our students are military students in Okaloosa County. So you think about that, that's a big chunk of students. And we all know the importance of the military in our community and what that means to us, the pride of that. And I think there's nothing more important than making sure that we are paying attention to the needs of military students. Like Mr. Bryant, I was a military child, went to 4 different bases, and students today go to a lot more than 4 different bases. But I'll never forget going to a school that very first day and where you're going to sit for lunch. A new teacher again, those nerves. So the fact that we have the military life counselors here and our schools are very much in the know when military students come, it's something that I appreciate, and again, thank you for what you do. Also, this month on social media, you'll see a lot of awareness that we will be bringing to the month of the military child. And Ms. Lajeunesse said it even better than I can say. Individual schools are also making sure that we honor this month. So a lot is happening as it pertains to the month of the military child. We will be wearing purple on various days throughout the month. I know that there's a day that we do that, but we've also encouraged that we wear purple on many days throughout the month in support. So just appreciate the board's support on that as well. April is a month of many different designations. It's also Autism Month. And we have schools who are also supporting this cause as well. And there's actually a theme this year that focuses on kindness, and the theme is together we can create a kinder, more inclusive world. And we will be supporting that with our students of autism and their families. On April 8th, we will be wearing blue, so that's tomorrow. April 8th, we'll be wearing blue in support of Autism Awareness Month.
Thank you for making sure I know what my wardrobe is for tomorrow for our visits. So.
I'm lucky. I have a lot of blue, so we'll be wearing that tomorrow. It's also Child Abuse Awareness Month, and I know that's something that we all take very seriously. At the beginning of this month, Ms. Schroeder did a great job of representing us at the Emerald Coast Children's Advocacy Center where Sheriff Eric Aden did a proclamation about Child Abuse Awareness Month, and we absolutely support that. I know you all support that as well. So we were proud to be a part of that. And again, we will be utilizing social media throughout this month to bring awareness to that cause. And of course, our schools are looking at that as well. Just want to make you aware of those three very important causes that we'll be supporting this month. On an FSA testing front, FSA testing, that season has begun. And this week, we started the grade 3 reading. As you know, the day that we had off was actually going to be that the start of that. So it was postponed today, but grade 3 testing is underway, as well as the writing is underway. The writing, just for your awareness, is grades 4 through 10. So the season has begun, and it will go, I believe, all the way through May 25th. So it's a lengthy period. So when you go back to the new progress monitoring assessment, that whole time period of where we are today till May 25th, that's not going to be there. So there'll be more instructional time leading up to May. That's our understanding about the way that this assessment is going to work. So I think that'll be a positive. On Monday, you know, the Youth Leadership Council will be here, so we'll have students here who will be proposing 2 items, financial literacy, as well as Hope Squad. So we'll be looking forward to their presentation. I think you're going to be impressed. This is a sharp group of students, just as a reminder. This will be an 11th grader and a 12th grader from each of our high schools across Okaloosa County, to include our K-12 schools of Baker and Laurel Hill as well. And then, almost lastly, Dr. Hale, the Human Resources Department, will have the job fair this Saturday, 9 o'clock at Edge Elementary. And this will be for instructional positions as well as ed support positions. And we know that we want to be on the front side of hiring the best employees that we can here in Okaloosa County. Many districts start their hiring process at a certain point in time, and we want to make sure that we're competitive in getting the best employees for our students and for our schools. And then lastly, I just want to touch just briefly on weather and just share with the board that anytime that we have a significant weather event, myself and Mr. Horton are in constant communication with Mr. Patrick Maddox here in Okaloosa. And that constant communication isn't just one conversation or two. It's email, it's phone calls, it's going back and forth. On this last one, it was a request to actually go back to Mobile and talk to the very specific experts there in Mobile to get very specific information on Okaloosa County and what the impacts might look like. So I know sometimes there might be a significant weather event that comes, and it's significant, and sometimes there could be sun that next day. But anytime that we make a decision as it pertains to weather, a lot of conversations are occurring, and always going to side on the safety of our students and staff. Just wanted to share that.
Yes, I was just going to say, Mr. Superintendent, I definitely, as a former principal, appreciate the way that you folks make these decisions, and just to share how grateful I am, because I remember one time, long before your administration, that we dismissed school during the day for a weather emergency. And I was in elementary school at that time, and that was very, very serious, because many of our children, you know, the buses came to pick them up, and we didn't have the communication that we have now. But even so, they didn't have anyone at home to be there when they arrived in the middle of the day. And so making those decisions like you do prevents all of those kinds of things that happened back then when we had to do it that way. So I'm grateful that you do that, and you do it early, and you do it in a way that folks can know about.
And I might add to that probably I wouldn't even have understood the depth of those decisions had I not been a principal all across this district, having been at Bruner in the south, at Destin in the middle, and at Laurel Hill in the north. When you make those calls, particularly when it looks like there wasn't any weather, and you're up in the north where we have lots of creeks and rivers that rise, and you think about trying to transport students across those areas, it just really makes such sense to err on the side of caution. And as I told someone yesterday who was questioning us, I said, first of all, those decisions are not made lightly. The superintendent and his top executive staff are constantly communicating with side-by-side districts, contingent districts, as well as emergency management systems. And if we made a decision opposite that, and even one student were to be injured, that would be a travesty. So it's just, it seems like a light decision, but it's so deep, and it affects all geographic areas, all kinds of communities with all kinds of transportation needs and all kinds of geographic needs, and so we just have to be aware of that. So thank you.
And I'll follow up on that too, because we had our meeting on Monday, our agenda meeting, and I know you were already thinking about it then. So you were, it was already on your mind and your staff's mind on what we were going to do. So I agree with Dr. Kelly and Dr. White. It's just, I know you don't take it lightly. I know you put a lot of it on your shoulders. So, but at the end of the day, if it means, citing on the air of caution, then that's the best thing to do, because you're right. We could have one person. That's all it would take is one person. So, all right. Anything else?
I just add, we all know what happened at Enterprise High School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you.
Yep. Anything else, Mr. Chambers?
No, sir.
All right. We appreciate your comments today. So now we'll move down to board members' announcements and requests for information, and I will start with Ms. Ivanchek today.
Okay, thanks. All right, well, I went to the prom, but
camel,
the
though.
camel stood me
I
up.
was so disappointed.
I was so disappointed, no camel. But in all seriousness, how exciting it was to see those students having fun, acting, as young ladies and gentlemen, but enjoying that. And it's great to see those activities back. So I appreciate the Baker folks inviting my husband and me to the prom. We really did enjoy that, so that was great. Also, want to, a little belated, but I want to congratulate Antioch Elementary on their 25th anniversary. It doesn't seem possible that it's been 25 years since we opened that school, but we enjoyed being there the other day, and they had some of the first faculty are still there, and then had some others back, and it was, after all the weather, it was a beautiful day out there, and it's one of our very large elementary schools, some 900 plus students, and the students were excited, and they did a great performance, and very much want to congratulate them. And then, yes, we're in testing season, but we're also in award season. So next week we have the A&T Mitchell Awards to go to, and this is, of course, a very fun part for board members when you get to see all that hard work that those teachers and parents and everyone, the students especially, and get to see those recognitions and everything. So we're looking forward to, we get a little road weary in April and May because we're up and down this district, but it all pays off in getting to see those students recognized, because ultimately that's what we're here for, is to see those students succeed. So getting ready for awards. So thank you.
All right, Ms. Ivanchek, thank you. And Dr. Kelly?
Well, I'll just say that I am always bursting with pride about this district and having been homegrown here, but even more so yesterday when I visited Laurel Hill and Shoal River. And up at Laurel Hill, again, just so good to go home there and see so many current teachers who were former students of mine. And when you were talking about Antioch, I mean, the principal and assistant principal there were former students of mine. And just so proud of what they are doing as leaders in this district and as teachers in this district. And at Laurel Hill, of course, I visited a student, Darcy Jenkins, former student, and delivered an Easter basket to her, and she invited me to speak to her class. And they were just appalled that I have been around this long. So I thought, that's amazing how students think, but the fact that you never know what your impact is when we're all role models. So you just have to be aware every moment. You don't know who you're impacting. But it's such a phenomenal thing to get to speak to a former student's class and them ask me questions about her and what was life like back then. So it was such fun. It really was a lot of fun. But we talked about the history. We talked about the history of Okaloosa County and all the way back to some of the trivia questions I had been giving on my trivia basket giveaways, and they were really interested, and they were interesting. It was fun for me to be back there.
I would
And-
still like to go back in time and see your cheerleading days
Oh,
there.
well,
so.
I can show you pictures. I assure you, our uniforms and even our pom-poms were not like they were today. But don't ask me to do a cheer or a flip, please. That would be embarrassing. And then at Shoal River, of course, I'm always proud when someone that Mr. Chambers appoints or moves shows that they are really making great strides in their new position. So I was proud of Dr. Driver and Jason Ben Kimbrough, both of them really showing what they can do for you. So I appreciated them. But they too were experiencing FSA all day. So they're all excited to have that season over with. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And Dr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick announcements about Longwood Elementary. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate Zoe Farmer for winning the Okaloosa County School District Black History Month essay contest for grades K through 3 and placing second place in the Okaloosa School District Martin Luther King Jr. oratorical competition.
Awesome.
So good for Longwood and good for Zoe. And then also Longwood Elementary will be having their kindergarten informational night on Tuesday evening. And I can promise you, and I remember, that's a big night for a lot of parents as they start getting ready for kindergarten. But thank you.
And I'll just finish up by echoing the Antioch 25th anniversary. It was really a fun event. I also thought it was impressive that they actually had teachers that were students there now. So that was really good. And the fact that there's still several that were there when it first opened up. So if you go and look at the placard up on the front door there, there's a lot of rich history there, a lot of great leaders that came through there. I know we saw Mr. Wyndham was there that day.
Yes, that was
so
great to see him.
Vince's dad. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool, and some of the other administrators that came through the doors there. So really cool. But you know, you think about it, the scope of our school district and the age of our schools. 25 years, and we still consider that one a newer school.
yeah, that's
You
one
know,
of
when
our
you
new
talk
ones.
about schools in Crestview, Antioch's one of the newer schools, and it's 25 years old. So tells you how fast how fast that goes.
And that school still looks phenomenal.
It
I
does.
mean, very nice, very
Yeah.
nicely.
I'll say their head custodian, Wanda, does a phenomenal job. I mean, if there's a piece of trash in the trash can, you come back a few minutes later, it's empty. So her and her team do a good job of that school up there. Also like to recognize Mr. Chambers. Thank you for taking time tomorrow out of your busy schedule. We are going to go to Shoal River and see Dr. Driver and Mr. Kimbrough, and we're going to visit Riverside and Southside tomorrow. And then we're also going to have lunch at the world famous Desi's tomorrow. So I know we're going to be excited about that. Just a great time to go visit these schools and show our support for all the great things that are going on in those schools.
Is this y'all's world tour? Is that what you're doing?
It's the world tour, yeah. It's, but no, I really appreciate the fact that we're going out tomorrow and doing that.
Well,
And
sometimes it feels like the world tour
Yes, it
because
does.
I learned some time ago that Okaloosa County, if I remember correctly, is 947 square miles.
Yes.
It's a big county.
And finally, going back up to the biggest school, or the littlest school with the biggest heart,
That's
I want to
right.
recognize one of our community leaders up there, Pastor Mike McVeigh of First Baptist Church of Laurel Hill there. He is tomorrow, he's going to be recognized by Channel 3. Sue Strawn is going to be there to interview him. He's going to be an angel in the midst.
Oh, great.
So
cool.
Brother Mike was at the school yesterday, right after I missed you, but he's on crutches right now. He hurt his leg, but if y'all don't know who Brother Mike is, he's the hobo.
Yes.
At all the events, he dresses up as the hobo. And just a great community leader. He is the heart and soul of the city, in my opinion, because of his work that he does in the church, but just what he does for those kids up there and the faculty. He is such a positive influence, and he's a very humble person, and he really didn't want to have all that recognition. But you know what? When we have angels in the midst, it's a good thing to recognize those people. And I'm so happy for Brother Mike. He is such a great guy, and Mr. Hobo, that's what we call him, so.
Hey, how's that sign coming up there?
We're still working on it. I think there's still some right-of-way issues and all
Oh.
that, but it's gonna happen, so we're gonna make sure it happens. If I can get Dr. Kelly, maybe flex her muscle a little bit up there, so we
She'll
can.
be out there making a
we
little
can-
cheer, and that'll help.
Yes, yeah.
And also, I forgot, wasn't this assistant principals
Assistant
Yeah.
Principals Week.
week? And, you know, they, I don't think people realize the principal gets a little more spotlight when you go to school, but those assistants are really doing the legwork and everything to get things going, and I just appreciate what they have to do. It's amazing what they cover in a day and a week, and shout out to all of them and the service that they provide in our district and everything. And I'm sure their principals would turn around and say thank you. That helps hold them up. So appreciate them.
Well, and I could just follow up briefly and say that every time I have the opportunity to talk with those folks, I just tell them how grateful I am that they took the job.
Yeah, that's right.
And that they've kept the job, because these last couple of years have just really, really been hard. I mean, and Superintendent, that really applies to all your staff, and you too, by the way. So thanks for that. Thanks for doing everything y'all do.
And many of them got to be contact tracers, and that was not part of their job description when they signed up to.
And substitutes.
Yeah, right.
And just one final comment, just real quick, we were talking about mental health. So yesterday, when I was at Bob Sykes Elementary School, I got to meet one of our mental health counselors, Stacy Burleson, and I just want y'all to know that how important mental health is, and how this board and our superintendent have really put this as one of our priorities. I appreciate the state making it a priority this year, but to go out and actually meet with those people, it takes a special person to do that job. And, you know, Ms. Burleson is just one of many great mental health counselors that we have. And, you know, I know we could use more. So, but, you know, just want to take time. Ms. Schroeder's already left, but I just wanted to thank her and her team and everybody that's involved in that. How much we appreciate our mental health counselors. And with that, we'll go down to public comment. This will be the 2-minute version of public comment, and we do have one public hearing, and that will be for the adoption of revised school board policy 08-07, requirements for instructional personnel. And before we leave, Mr. Strong, it's good to see you, sir.
Good to be back. Y'all have missed me a little bit lately. I've been traveling quite a bit. 2 years we hadn't traveled, and all of a sudden everything hits you.
Yeah.
But I did spend quite a bit of time in Tallahassee this year, and most of you know that I think we were successful at getting the BSA some extra money, and I just wanted to say that we're working hard on looking at that money and trying to figure out how to make Okaloosa competitive in hiring folks and retaining folks. So I look forward to that work in the future, and hopefully we can start a little bit early this year, because we got a lot to do. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. L., I saw you raising your hand, so you can come on up real quick.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a correction. I misspoke on the number of military-connected students within the Okaloosa County School District. It's actually 5,743.
Wow.
Yes.
Thanks.
And I know that increases. And I do want to highlight, since you are highlighting assistant principals, Dr. Driver over at Shoal and Mrs. Susan Gearing, the assistant principal at Shoal River. We have a partnership, and I was able to provide her with the 7 Habits to Highly Successful Teens. And she's going to be implementing goal setting for those teens. And she's got some great resources that I was able to purchase for her. So it's all about innovation and building that partnership.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for recognizing Ms. Gearing, because I know I forgot to mention her in my comments. So, and we do appreciate her and being part of that team. So thank you for reminding us of
Thank
that.
you.
So-
Thank you for allowing. Thank you, Mr. Horton. I appreciate
Yep.
it.
All right. So, Dr. Hale, Ms. Lightboard, Mr. Horton, Ms. Perry. All right, this meeting's adjourned.